Welcome to Crossfire Deep Dive. This is your host, Revival. Sitting beside me is Dallas the Savage, and we're here to bring you another episode for the Crossfire League. We got our Crossfire Super Bowl champion, Ken, as our special guest, along with the Giants user, D'Angelo, and the Bengals user, XXIMBG, other guests joining us. Without further ado, let's get into it. So our first topic is we wanted to talk to Ken and you go over the whole Super Bowl and how it felt and whatnot. Dallas, I'll let you take it away on that one.
Hey man, Ken, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. So obviously, leading up to the game, there was a lot of trash talk between the Packers user in the little Super Bowl pre-game interview. And for you, was that an extra motivation to win that game, or was it just all talk for you?
I mean, overall, I guess you could say not even just him, but I feel disrespected by the league itself. Leading up to that moment, wasn't in anybody's top 10, didn't have any players ranked, no award. So I think it was an accumulation of everything, not just him talking, right? Because that's what he does. He loves to hear himself talk. Until somebody makes him shut up, and he hasn't talked that much since. But, I think it's a little bit of everything. I figured I had a game plan that I stuck to, and it worked out for me.
That's true. And so for you, I remember, there was a lot of whispers about how you would approach the game. For you, like, obviously, how the game played out, it seemed like you really wanted to control the clock with running the ball with Travis Etienne and then converting big on third down. So for you, was that the game plan that you had going into the game? And also, what was your defensive game plan?
Gotcha. Great question. Offense, clock management was the biggest thing. We knew that he had fast scoring, quick scoring potential, with his player. So our whole focus was really to keep the ball away from him, right? Run the ball, run the clock down, and just try to take control of the game, slow it down. We weren't going to get into a scoring battle with him because our offense isn't built like that at this current moment. One day it may be able to evolve into something like that, but as of right now, that's not what we are. On defense, our whole focus was just to minimize the explosive plays that we knew he was able to do. The guy's able to score in one play, less than 10 seconds. So, we're just taking away his main options. We know he loves Christian Watson. Force him to dump it off to the running back. We can rally to that, make somebody fumble, just no one-play touchdowns was our motto for that game. Make him do something that he didn't want to do.
1,000%. And so for you, I remember, game started, you got ball first. You had a big completion to Travis up the middle on the streak. He takes that to the crib. Joe gets on offense, and he throws a pick six, throw out a sack, pick six. Whenever you got that pick six, what was going through your mind?
I'm like, oh shit, we actually got a chance to win this game. Not saying there was any doubt in my ability, but I knew it was going to be hard to stop him. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, if I'm able to get one stop, that can win me the game. And that was the moment in the game where it's like, okay, shit, I can't play scared. I can't go under a rock. But I'm like, now it's time for me really to control the game now that I'm up by 2 possessions. Mm-hmm. That was really click to me when that came on.
Hey, 1,000%. Also during the game, I remember there was a point where you had went on a long drive, you scored. Then I believe Joe scored in like 2 to 3 plays. Like, it was crazy fast. And I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that, Ken, because it was on a high ball too. I was like, a quick drive is a killer. And so, you want him to take up time. So for him, for you, once he took that lead again and then you got ball back, like, what was going through your mind as well? Like, because that pressure then started to build.
No, for sure. And I think that was near the fourth quarter, correct?
Yes, it was.
Final drive, or was it the drive before that?
It was the drive before.
Yeah. Okay. No, it makes sense. My whole thing after that, that happened, like, I knew it was going to happen some point in the game, we got a few lucky breaks. The ball got knocked out in a few deep balls like that. I knew it was coming at some point. I think, going into that second to last drive of mine, I'm like, all right, I need to leave myself enough time because he's going to score again. It was inevitable. I'm like, I need to go down and score as quick as possible, So that was really what came to mind after he got that quick touchdown. I'm like, I have to figure out a way to not drain too much clock, and just hurry up and get downfield. So, and that set me up for my last drive as well,
1000%. And I would say during the game, so I remember pregame, Joe said he was going to, get Aaron Jones involved and run the ball. But obviously him throwing that pick six, going down 14-0 quickly changed his game plan. Because I did think he was going to want to run the football, but since obviously he went down 14, that completely changed his game plan. So for you, was there anything during the game that like surprised you about him, or was it all pretty much like everything went according to plan in terms of there was no surprises for you in terms of how he approached it?
I mean, I knew that was all window dressing, right? I played him plenty of times in other leagues, I beat him before with the same strategy in other leagues as well. Going into that situation, I see him trying to implement the run, a bunch of Aaron Jones, but it was, like I said, it was all window dressing, right? It was only a matter of time until something happens and he wants to air it out again. A passer will always be a passer no matter what, they're going to default to what they love to do. And I knew it was only a matter of time. So I stayed consistent, didn't come out of any heavy run defenses. I would say that's the biggest difference between him and a user like the Bengals, right? The Bengals, if he has to default to the run, he can do that, because he's able to play that dual threat role, unlike the Packers, where it's a very one-dimensional game.
Absolutely. Yeah, he is very pass dominant of a user and pass centric of a user. Even then, actually, hold up. Revival, would you like to ask a few questions? I'll let you go ahead and fill in real quick.
Yeah. So I had some questions. So, I mean, let's ask the first question, which I'm sure it's probably asked. You've been asked a few times already. But how did it feel to win the Super Bowl for Crossfire?
I mean, honestly, it's great to finally have my name in the books. I've had my name in the books, but on the opposite end, the past two times, lead before that one. So, I mean, it feels great to finally get one and not fall short, losing by a touchdown or by a point. It feels good to actually get up there finally.
Gotcha. Yeah. And going back to what Dallas was saying, it seemed like your game plan worked against the Packers with winning the bowl. Do you see yourself returning back to Super Bowl? Do you see yourself defending that?
Oh, 100%. Right. Obviously, things can't be the same way. I came out week one with the same strategy and didn't work out, right? Got my ass whooped. I'm sure enough, but, riding high on a Super Bowl, we figured that same strategy can come out to be the same towards everybody. And sure enough, it can't be. Going to the playoffs and even later in the season this time around, we have to evolve as an offense and on defense, bring some new things to the table. And really just, adjust and accelerate, like I preached about last year, right? So that's really the plans now. We're making our adjustments slowly but surely, and we should be ready to defend our title. Hopefully, come towards the end of the season.
All right. And then, I always got to keep it spicy in here. So might as well start it off like this. So I have to ask the question, which is I got to address the elephant in the room. But with the Bengals basically being disqualified after not being able to play his game in the playoffs, do you feel like your Super Bowl win was a fraud? Because that seems to be the thing that was going around for a while in the chat was like, oh, whoever wins the Super Bowl is a fraud. It's a fraud bowl. I do know the Bengals. He tried to push to play with you. However, it seemed like it was too late and it was already set in stone. Do you care to talk about the situation? Do you think you would have beat him the same way as Joe? Because Joe is pretty much I want to say a copy and paste Bryce 2.0. So do you think how would that work?
He's a Dollar Tree version, but yeah, nah, man, it's unfortunate, right? I wouldn't say anything was fraud. You get there, you play the game, you earn the right to be there. Sure enough, he couldn't play the next day. I knew that. Life happens. And it's unfortunate. But with me getting there, playing, I could have lost to the Chiefs. I could have lost to whoever else I played before that. but I got there and I played the game and I beat the guy that made it on the other side, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, there's no fraud involved in that. I feel like if I really didn't truly deserve to be there, the
Hmm.
ball doesn't lie, right? I would have lost that game. I probably got blew out if that was the case. But I feel like I submit and make my case. The fact that I got there and I beat the guy that everybody was riding so high on. So I mean, sure enough, it goes through the Bengals, right? He won the past Super Bowl before that. He's been there. He played in those high games like that.
Hmm.
We all know that he's capable of being number one user in here from here on out. But that's just
Hmm.
how things go. It's next man up. I can't take any fault for that.
I hear you. So do you look?
Quick,
Do you
quick,
look?
my
Do you
bad.
look? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Dallas.
Just a quick chip in, backing up Ken. If we looking back at last season, going into the playoffs, Bryce was on a bit of a slump. So there is no guarantee. People want to say, "Oh, he didn't go through Bryce. He didn't go through Bryce." Man, he went through who he had to go through. At the end of the day, if you win a ring, you win a ring. Now the road, you can't control who you play, but hey, things work out that way. So I mean, he still ended up being the best user on the other side.
Exactly. And the thing is, I was one game out of being out of the playoffs. Actually, I had some life things going on. I didn't play a few games, gave some four sims out. And shit, if I wouldn't have won the last game of the week, of the season, I would have been out of the playoffs. So it's like the whole thing in itself is crazy
Hey man, 1,000%.
Yeah. So do you feel like um I mean, like obviously your goal is to return back to Super Bowl, but do you feel like beating the Bengals is like on your checklist just to kind of shut all the haters up and just be like, listen, my Super Bowl wasn't a fluke, and I'm here to be a contender.
Yeah, that's always top of mind, right?
Mm.
You got to beat the best to be the best. It's a corny motto, but that's really what it is. I'm gonna have to face him again. It won't be the last time. So like I said, we'll buckle up, we'll make our adjustments, and we'll play when that time comes.
All right, Dallas, you got anything to ask our guest here?
That's all I had on the board for Ken.
All righty. Well, I think that's everything I had on my end on here. As always, appreciate you definitely coming in. Apologize, unfortunate circumstances as we were been talking about. We wanted to try to get you guys on here before, but it is what it is. But glad to have you on here. Hopefully, you'll be on the next Super Bowl as a guest. Defending your championship against whomever is in the NFC that comes out of there.
Most definitely, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, no problem. Thanks for taking your time to come on the show.
Yes, sir. Talk soon.
All righty. So that was our guest Kenny, the Jags owner, Super Bowl winner. So we're gonna go into topic 2. I'll let you lead off with that, Dallas, on the best user versus user matchups.
Yeah, man. So for me, in terms of games that we got coming up for the rest of the season, there's a few games that really do pique my interest, and those is Bean versus Jody week 9. That to me is going to be a monster of a matchup because you're looking at arguably the best NFC user, reigning NFC champs versus currently the best AFC user, or tied for best AFC user in Bean.
Mm-hmm.
Another game I'm looking at is Ken versus BC, Jaguars versus Falcons. I think they're a really interesting matchup, and I would just love to see how they end up playing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Another game is obviously Bryce versus Joe, week 13, Bengals versus Packers. You can call it the knockoff Super Bowl of what could have been due to outside circumstances. So that'll be a pretty fun game to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also interested in AJ versus Joe week 18 because I think if AJ gets things going, he's going to have to go on a run. But if he can go on a run, week 18 versus Joe, I think AJ will be playing for a play-in spot to the playoffs. And if he's able to win that game, then oh man, he can possibly make a run if he can piece things together.
Yeah, I agree. Even if he's not even in the playoff run, at least if he's able to play and able to make that, like, win by a decent margin and make a, sort of make a statement game, I think that'll be sort of like something as a like a motivation to lead in the off season to let them know like, hey, I was given this team and it's not how I wanted to set them up, but it's the team that was given and I'm still able to compete. You know what I mean with the with top tier users. So I agree. Um, so my I didn't have too much of a selection. I just kind of was skimming down. One of my you know user versus user matchups that I wanted to see actually was played right before the podcast. It was Dez against you. I wanted to see that one because I was interested to see how Dez could take that Panthers team and actually be able to, see what he can do with them because, the previous owner that had him, they weren't doing too well. So, I just wanted to see what he can do with that rookie quarterback. And, he was, victorious. I mean, it wasn't the prettiest game, but I mean, he was able to get out the win. And then week 9, I actually want to see this one. I feel like this game is going to be a demoralizer if the Packers come on the losing end of the side, and that's going to be the Packers versus the Chargers. I feel like if the Chargers beat the Packers week 9, um, and somehow that week 18 game, and the Bears beat them as well, I think that's gonna I and it's not gonna change his game, but it's gonna like sort of like sit in the back of his mind, like there's guys that can compete with me. I'm not just gonna walk through the NFC and just dominate my way through. I mean, there's other users in the NFC that are able to dominate, but that was one game like I wanna definitely watch and definitely see what happens there.
Um, I guess I'm going to give the floor to D'Angelo. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, man. For you, is there any upcoming games across the league that have your interest?
Probably week 11 versus me and you.
Okay.
I think that'll be a good matchup for us. It shows who's going to win the division, pretty much, in my opinion.
Ooh. Any other
I don't
games
see
or
the
just
week 13, obviously, with Bengals and Packers. Looks interesting, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it to me.
Okay. Bryce, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, Bryce, for you, is there any upcoming games that have your interest across the league?
So I had two, but since someone brought up AJ vs Joe week 18, I think that game alone could determine who's going to be like. That could be a game for the 1 seed if you really think about it. Jacob vs Joe. High scoring offenses, both play defense. Uh, and that game alone might determine who's going to be the 1 seed or who might make playoffs. And then I'm gonna go week 16, the Giants versus the Cardinals. Um, that could be a game that determines playoffs. It's late in the season. The NFC East is a hell date if you look at it. Bunch of tough people in it. The NFC as a whole it's the best NFC. It's the best conference if you look at it. And that game alone could determine who's going to be in the playoffs, like I said. And then obviously myself against Joe. And I've already said it, a knockoff for the Super Bowl or whatever you want to call it. What could have been. But I think that's going to be either a high scoring game or no points scored at all. It's going to be like how it was in the Super Bowl 2021, 22-20, something like that. Those are the three games I have in mind.
That's okay. That's what we're gonna call that game, the could have been bowl. That's just like how Drewski got could have been records. That's the could have been bowl.
The Super Bowl, Super Bowl from Wish.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I guess we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and have that to lead into our next topic, which is going to be our division winner predictions. So I guess we'll start off with. Let's just go and start off with the AFC North. Uh, for the AFC North, I have the Bengals walking away with that division pretty easily.
Um,
Revival.
I agree. I feel like the Ravens, with half of the players in the NFL on his team, I still feel like he's still going to be behind the Bengals by a couple of steps. Um, I just don't, until the Ravens can prove that he can beat the Bengals twice a year. I just don't see the Bengals losing that division, unfortunately.
Okay. Uh, I'll go ahead and go to you, Bryce. Bryce, who do you have winning the AFC North?
I'm gonna skip that. I'm not trying to get clipped, so I'm not trying to end
Wow.
up like Joe. Obviously, I think it's gonna be myself, but I'm not gonna pit that so I can get clipped for it. So I'm just gonna skip.
And okay, well, no, I ain't gonna respect it for being scary. All right, D'Angelo, for you, who do you have winning the AFC North?
That's obviously the Bengals. I mean, the Ravens haven't played anybody really crazy yet. So, I mean, it's DK Metcalf and Lamar. Not much you can say.
Yeah, man, the Ravens. It was gonna be interesting because I thought Ravens. I don't see him able to win that division with getting more than one loss, and I thought he was gonna have to split with the Bengals. But after what Themp did to him, man, that kind of it kind of lowered my confidence in the
Like
Ravens.
I
I'm not
said, he
gonna
hasn't played
lie.
anybody good, and when he plays somebody good, he loses.
Hey, 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 you said it, not me. Hey, you said it, not me. All right, let's go to the NFC North. Revival, who do you have winning the NFC North?
I have Jacob and the Vikings winning the NFC North.
Ooh. Do you have it being closer by like a 2+ win margin?
Uh, I think he wins it by maybe a game or two. I don't think it's going to be like he's going to dominate that division. You know what I mean? But I feel like he's gonna win that division.
Okay. For the NFC North, honestly, I got Jacob. Yeah, I predicted Jacob to win it preseason. Um, I mean, not Jacob. I mean, my bad, not Jacob. Joe. I have Joe winning the NFC North preseason. I'm gonna stick with it. I just think offensively, he's gonna just pretty much outscore everybody. And Rashad Gary is kind of giving everybody problems on the defensive end. So I got Joe walking away with the NFC North by probably 2 wins. Bryce, what about you? NFC North.
Um, that's a toss up for me. Obviously, if at the end of the day, it would be the Vikings. Because I believe he has one loss and Joe has two.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think that's one of the divisions that could come down to week 18. Like I said, uh, if the division comes down to Jacob, no, AJ versus Joe, then depending on who Jacob plays, Jacob wins. But if Joe can get ahead in that division, I think Joe could win.
Okay. D'Angelo, what about you?
I think Joe's the better user. Actually, I haven't played Jacob before, so I don't know. I played Joe many times, so I'm gonna go with Joe because I know how he plays, and he's good. He's a good user.
You say you haven't played Jacob yet?
Never played him yet.
Okay. Yeah, that division is just really interesting to me because, like I
Lions
said,
are
you
good
got
also.
yeah, Lions is good, but that man having some quarterback problems. So I mean, the quarterback play is gonna end up being the difference, I think, in that division. And also, it's like I think AJ dug himself too deep of a hole, and then whenever it comes to Jacob and Joe, I don't know how those games are going to go between those two. But man, if one of them can sweep the other, then if one of them can sweep, then man, that'll be humongous. Next, we're going to go off to the AFC AFC East. Um, I got Villa winning that one. I predicted Villa to win that division preseason. Um, it's a little shaky right now. Not gonna lie, but I'm gonna just thug it out. I'm gonna thug it out. Villa, you got to make me right, man. What about you, Revival?
For the you said the AFC East.
Yeah, AFC East.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna take a wild pick here. I'm gonna go with our commissioner. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins, Jagoda, on that one. Even though he think he just caught a loss the last advance.
Yeah, I think he's on a 2-game losing streak at the moment.
I just think with that roster, with Hill and Waddle, I know Tua's Tua, but I just feel like with that roster, like you'd have to like self destruct to not win that division. And I mean the way Bill has been playing, he's not playing too impressive either. I mean I think it's gonna be a division that's not gonna be as competitive as it was last year, but I see him squeaking out at least with probably by like a win or maybe a tiebreaker or something like that.
Yeah, I see. I can agree with that one. What about you, Bryce? AFC East.
AFC East, I'm gonna choose Billo. I just feel like he's the more dominant player when it comes to the AFC East. Jagoda can go on a streak and maybe win it, streak by, but I don't see that happening as of now. So I'm going with Billo.
All right, and D'Angelo.
I want to say Patriots, but he doesn't play enough games. He's a good user, but he doesn't play ever. But I'm gonna say Dolphins.
Dolphins. Okay, so it seems like it's like a 2-2 split.
Yeah.
No, yeah, 2-2 split. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I
All
feel
right.
like that division can go either way. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
one of those.
it's a coin toss for sure. Next up we got the NFC East. So preseason I jotted because I didn't change any of my preseason picks. So I picked the Commanders to win the NFC East. NFC East because I thought pass rush Kyler Murray. Then he kind of flipped the whole script and went with Joe Burrow and gave away the pass rush minus Aaron Donald. I still got Washington Commanders winning the NFC East. They're pretty legit, man.
Well, I actually have you winning the NFC East. I mean, I know that Commanders D line is stacked, and now he has Burrows, which you know, um, it speaks for itself. But I just feel like I don't know. I've seen you play in the AFC East, and then you know what I mean. I've seen you play in the playoffs, and I've seen you play a few games here with the Eagles. So I don't know. I just feel like I feel like you're gonna edge it out. I think it'll be a tight division, but I think he'll run away with it at least probably by like I would say a 2-game margin.
Okay. Bryce, who do you have? Excuse me. Who do you have winning the NFC East?
So
East.
no disrespect to you, Dallas. But after watching that game that you and Ungwe just played, the Commandos, I'm gonna have him. I just feel like his pass rush is going to cause havoc when it comes down to crunch time. When you get late in the season, people get banged up. And if his defensive line can stay healthy, it's going to cause major problems for a lot of teams. And he has that X factor quarterback, which makes a big difference with inaccuracies and all that. So I just feel like Ungwe is going to win. It's going to be close, but I feel like Ungwe could win.
Okay, respect. D'Angelo.
I don't want to pick against myself, but I'm gonna go Eagles. He has the most talent on the O line. He has a good pass rush, good all around team.
Okay. Whoa, we got another special guest reappearing. Ken, I guess who do you have winning the NFC East?
I mean, honestly, I'm a big defensive guy, so when I look at your team and look at the points that scored against you, you have, I think everybody in your division by at least 30 points, 40 points. So with that being said, if you can stay consistent on offense, minimize the turnovers, I think you can win that division. I mean, you're up right now. I think, like I said, with the amount of points that you give up per game, that matters comes towards the end of the season. So I think you can pull out and out. It may be a one game win, but I think you definitely can do it though.
Next up we have the AFC South. For me, this one was like insanely easy. Jaguars, like I don't know what else to tell you. Revival.
Yeah, this was one of those divisions I looked at, and I was like, "Oh, Jaguars all the way." I mean, I could be a funny guy and maybe pick the Texans or something like that, but I'd be lying to you and lying to myself if I picked any other team but the Jaguars in that division.
Okay. Bryce, who do you have winning the AFC South?
Was that even a question? Like, no disrespect to the AFC South, but the Jags is running away with it.
No, it's all disrespect to the AFC South.
No,
D'Angelo.
I have Ken winning by like 4 or 5 games, maybe more than that.
That's it. D'Angelo.
Yeah, it's the Jags.
Okay.
I mean, the Colts have some big wins this year, I believe. I don't know. I don't know. No, it's the Jags though.
You know. All right. Next up, we got the NFC South. NFC South was a tricky one for me, but I went with Ice Water only because like most of his losses, even last season, was off of forces, and I have the most faith of him compared to any other NFC user. Obviously Dez wasn't in the league at the time that I made my list, but even still, I would probably still pick the Bucks to win the NFC South.
I agree. That's why I picked. I picked the Bucks. And again, it's no disrespect to anybody in there. I think Dez took that team maybe a little bit too late. I think if he would have got them, I would say around free agency period of last season and going into the draft, I think then maybe he might have had maybe a different outcome. But yeah, I just see the Bucks winning that division. Not by a lot, but by a couple games.
Mm-hmm. And also considering two of his first 3 games that he was unable to play were divisional games, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
What do you, Bryce, NFC South?
I have Dez. I've
Okay.
seen Dez go on runs in the past, before Crossfire rebooted and all that. I just feel like overall, no disrespect to the Falcons or Bucks, I just feel like Dez is gonna win it. It's gonna be close, maybe a game, and it might come down to who has the better division record. And I just feel like if Dez can sweep the rest of the division, because like you said, he already has 2 division losses. But I look at the Bucks and they have a great offense, but look at the QB. It's Malik Willis. No disrespect to Malik Willis, he's not great. And then I look at the Falcons, like, oh, they have a great offense, but their defense outside of Minka and Troy Anderson, it's like, who the fuck's gonna help you? You know what I mean? It's like pray to God, Jesus, get a stop. So I have Dez, just based off. I think he has overall the best team, like well rounded.
Okay. What about you, D'Angelo, NFC South?
The Bucks. I played Ice Water. He's a good user. I think he could beat this division pretty easily.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I beat the Falcons in the playoffs. I came back from a 24-0 deficit. So, I mean, he's a good user also, but his defense is trash, like he said.
What about you, Ken? What about you, Ken? NFC South.
I definitely agree with Bryce. I've been in a league with Dez plenty of times, know that he can go on runs, but I feel like the Bucks team is just so much more well-rounded than the rest of his division. I mean, look at the top 10 players on this team; they're all in the 90s, right? It's like it's kind of hard to lose with a team like that. You have 2 wins over 2-game lead over Dez. Like unless he ends up slipping, missing a few games, I just don't see the Bucks losing that. Ice Water's a really good user. I played against him in the past. So I really think he can lock things down in that division.
Hey, 1,000%. Next we're gonna go is to the AFC West. This one for me was like a no contest. Like this is easily Chargers winning this division. We put faith in Bean, man. We got faith in Bean.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers. Just because, like I said, I felt like that division was a division that any good user, if they switched over there, they could take it. They could take that division. It wasn't nothing that was like, locked in. You have to kind of battle it out. So I'm going to go with the Bengals. Or not the
Whoa,
Bengals,
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Chargers.
whoa. All right.
Whoa.
No, I was looking at something. I was looking at something, and someone sent me something. It was a Bengals meme. So
you good. Bryce, who do you have winning the AFC West?
I don't see it's a contest. It's not a contest. I don't see it is a contest. Obviously the Chargers has a 1-game lead over the Chiefs because he beat them head to head. But I do feel like the Chargers has a better team overall. I do feel like he can squeak it out, but y'all are not gonna disrespect the Chiefs. He was a blocked field goal away from making the bowl. Let's like not forget that.
That's facts.
Look, he was a black field goal away from that.
And
Correct.
say whatever you want about the playoffs, you still had to win other games. Like for all we know, the Chiefs could have won the bowl. The Chiefs could have won the bowl. For all we know, I mean that's something we didn't get to see because Ken won, but Chiefs could have won the bowl and we could have been saying, "Oh, let's give it to the Chiefs."
I just have more faith in Bean winning those big games than I do the Chiefs personally, only because I see Bean as like a more dominant user, even though he barely beat the Chiefs. Like it was a very close game. Their first game was very close, and Bean's game with Jagoda was very close. And he had another close game. I can't remember. Oh, Billa. And I just have more faith in Chargers, man. I just got more faith in them. And you got to think. Also, I believe Wade, since he won division, he's also playing that first place schedule. So that's not going to make it any easier for. Oh no, he's not actually. I believe. No, he's not. He's playing second place because TKL's won division. But either way, I'm still going to roll with Chargers. Ken, did you give your AFC West prediction?
No, I didn't. I can go ahead and shoot it now.
Yeah.
I think I got Chargers winning this one by 1 game. I think, but the crazy part about it, I'm looking at his schedule. He does have the Packers. He has the Eagles, the Vikings, and then he has to end the season off with the Chiefs. So this very well could come down to that last game of the season for them to split the division. Possibly, based on points or whatever other metrics there may be, one of them can end up taking it. So I think it's going to really be close. Those 3 games that I named on his schedule are going to be big deciders leading up to that last game of the year. And I don't think Chiefs is going to lose that many games. But as of right now, I got the Chargers taking it just because he's playing so well.
Hey, you do not need to mention the Chargers game versus me. Trust me. Unless I rush for 200 yards with Kenneth Walker, I am not winning a single game. D'Angelo, man. What about you, man? Who do you got winning the AFC West?
Chargers. I think he's the better user.
Oh, okay. He said he way better than you, Wade.
He's not way better than Wade.
Next up, we got the NFC West preseason. I said, you know what? I said I'm gonna go out on a limb. And this man, he took 2 forced losses, but in every game he has played, he has showed why I picked him, and that is them. I'm picking the Cardinals, man. I'm picking the Cardinals. Revival, you up, man?
I mean, the game I seen is kind of making me regret this pick, but I ain't gonna switch up. I'm gonna stick with my pick. I picked the Rams to win that division, and that was a wild pick. I mean, I've watched Estrada play in different different leagues or whatever, and I don't know what's going on. I mean, you know what I mean, what's going on here, but I feel like he could win the division if he puts a little bit of effort into it. I feel like the past few games I've watched him play, it's not the same Estrada I've seen play in other leagues.
Bryce, you have winning the NFC West.
NFC West, I have the Cardinals. Scheme wise, I feel like he's one of those people that's a scheme over the team type dude. Because if you look at his offense is ass. Outside of AJ Dillon, it's like eh. But I do have the Cardinals winning it.
Yeah, man. D'Angelo, who do you have winning NFC West?
I can't believe this man really said the Rams, but I'll say Niners. I think Bosa. I mean, he's a good defense. He's a good defensive player, and Cardinals have a terrible offense. So think about it like that.
Oh, okay. Ken, who do you have winning NFC West?
I think I'm gonna have to go on a whim here and say that the 49ers can close out that division. Like you said, the defense is just lights out over there. All you gotta do is just lock things down. I think he can win that division.
Okay. And yeah, man, going back to the Cardinals, I don't know, it is mind boggling to me how Thimp chose to completely dismantle a team year one, make them worse, and somehow perform better. Like, I do not understand the logic behind that. But, he got his quarterback. He had Kyler Murray, he wanted Kirk Cousins.
Kyler to Kirk is wild.
And he, he's got AJ Dillon at running back, and this man he gave me a very tough game, and like he's been handling business. He beat Jacob, and who did he just beat? He just beat somebody. Beat the Ravens, who was looking very explosive. Beat the brakes off of him, and so it's like, okay, Cardinals, we see you. It's them back. We don't know. We gotta wait and see. But in general, that will end up wrapping up our divisional winners. So, with that being, oh my lord, my bad. I'm trying to find I can't find the topic list. There it goes. We're gonna do a quick hit on the shining rookies / bust. Revival, I'll let you go ahead and go first with your rookies.
Alrighty. So I didn't have a really big list here. But the shining rookies, I feel like it's the Bears running back, Leon Ball. Right now, well, when I wrote it, he was currently third in rushing with 839 yards and 6 TDs. And then the next rookie I'm going to go with is the Vikings wide receiver, Tavares Shaw. He has 31 receptions. At the time when I wrote it, he was second in receiving yards with 1,115 yards and 13 touchdowns. And then last but not least, the Bills, Kyron Harrow. He has 6 interceptions and he has 0 catches allowed.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty much similar to you. Bears running back Leon, he's been amazing. Vikings wide receiver Shaw, he's been amazing. Probably the biggest reason for the Vikings start. The only people I didn't have, or the only people that I have that you didn't have listed was Chargers wide receiver Webster. That's one of the 2 players that had to be nerfed. He's got 43 catches, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Also got another Chargers player who was also nerfed, the defensive back, the free safety, I believe, Alfonso Phillips. He has 29 tackles, 2 RTFLs, 5 picks, 5 deflections. And then last but not least, I got the Bears linebacker, which is Marlon Lowe. And he has 36 tackles, 10 TFLs, and 3 sacks. He's been a problem. And I believe he also has an interception. He's been a menace on the field, to just be quite frank. I guess for D'Angelo, do you have any rookies that you've noticed have been performing, or do you have a rookie on your own team that has been exceeding expectations?
I mean, I didn't even draft, so I have no rookies. But
okay.
I'm trying. It's Travis Shaw, obviously. Valentine from the Bills, Maurice Valentine. He's pretty good. I mean, 977 yards, 11 touchdowns. Pretty good receiver.
Yeah, he's been legit.
I mean, it's not a deep class right now.
What about you, Bryce?
I only have one that really actually stood out to me, and that was Leon Ball. He was a normal dev, I believe, 94 speed rookie. Playing behind a Bears O-line and a Bears team that's not very great. Even though AJ's 1-4, 1-5, he's like the only thing AJ has to look forward to every game is praying to God Leon Ball could make some runs. And, AJ's played in a couple of tight games. I think if AJ had a defense that was competent, we could be talking about a different story with AJ. But as of now, the only one I have right now is Leon Ball.
Okay. Ken, for you, do you have any rookies that's balling out, or have you noticed any rookies playing pretty amazing?
I can't really speak too much on everyone else's rookies as of right now. I haven't really paid much attention. I know I focused heavily on my guys that I have. My 2-6-3 DBs that I have, trying to really develop them. My first pick in the second round was I think he was the overall first round draft projection was Jamie Yancey. He's a 6'3" strong safety. He's been causing a bunch of forced fumbles. He had a couple picks on the season, so really hoping to see him develop more as well. Possibly get him to superstar sometime later in the season.
Okay. Excuse me. Revive, I'll let you go ahead and lead off with who do you have listed as the bust of this draft class so far?
The rookie bust. Let's just put them all in one big bag and just put the entire quarterback draft class. Just throw them all in there and just call them all busts. Just label them all. Just give them one big label. What's pretty crazy is I was looking this up and unfortunately I'm part of this contribution. The top 4 rookie quarterbacks have a total of 24 touchdowns and 93 interceptions. So I'll say it again, 24 passing touchdowns with 93 interceptions. That's not including any fumbles or anything like that. Every rookie quarterback, they have, issues with turning the ball over. There's a lot of accuracy issues between the rookie quarterback class. And this draft class was highly talked about. I mean, it was something that, if you were in a position to get that high pick or you needed a quarterback, you wanted to take a quarterback from this draft class, but looking at how they're performing and their accuracy issues, you tend to wonder if there's a big transition from, college to NFL, and that's just a big difference. But it could be it could be a lot of things. I mean, maybe they need a year or two to kind of just build up those stats. But yeah, the entire quarterback draft class to me is a bust right now.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like there really isn't anything else for me to add to that because I thought the same exact thing. You had the Saints get a quarterback, the Lions get a quarterback, the Titans get a quarterback.
Panthers.
The Steelers get a quarterback. Panthers get a quarterback. Obviously, he's planning to turn it around with his quarterback. I know he didn't have a good game this past week. Neither quarterback did. But Dez is going to be probably the only beam of light if he can turn around with his quarterback, turn things around with his.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been terrible.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna mention one thing, and I don't think anyone else caught on but me leading into the practice squad opening. But going into week 2, there was a rookie in someone's practice squad that was a superstar, and he was a DB. And I don't think anyone else seen him, but I did. He was an 88 speed corner. He was 6'3". He was a very low overall. He was 65 overall. And somehow I was able to poach him going into week 6. So he's definitely, I'm developing him right now. I just want to throw that out there because nobody ever talked about it. And I'm like, okay, I figured nobody's seen it but me.
So you wanna make it spicy and tell everybody what team you stole from?
He's from the South. I'll say that on the NFC side.
Okay.
All right, hold on now. We finna get to this.
We about to find this one.
I'm finna do this myself.
Okay, so I'm gonna knock out the Falcons because he had a bottom 3 draft class, so it's not the Falcons. We can take that one out. Who?
I'm looking at it right now.
Right now, you gonna tell you.
Franchise tag signed. Jaguars signed. Practice squad. Oh, it doesn't even say. Hold on, let me see. Signed. Wait, let me go. And it's from the South.
Yeah, go to the South and go to the teams, and then and see which who like
Okay, here we go. It doesn't even say who he stole them from because it only shows him as a. Oh my gosh! Matter of fact, it's a South guy though. Saints, Falcons. Let's try Falcons. It was
It's
the
not the
Falcons.
Falcons.
It's not the Falcons.
He had a bottom 3 draft class.
Nah, it was
Oh,
the
it was the
Falcons.
Falcons? Holy
It's the
fuck!
Falcons. It was the
Damn.
Falcons. I'm looking at
And
it.
he had no defense too.
Ooh.
That shit was spicy. It was only one other person that knew, and I told him we were both basically fighting to get to that player.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you trying to trade him?
Oh nah. He gonna be a safety, sure enough.
6'3", 6'3", 6'3".
Six.
All right. Transitioning from shining rookies slash bust slash thievery that we got going on from the Jaguars. Next topic was going to be players that are exceeding expectations this season and those who are disappointing so far. Revival, I'll let you take the lead, man.
Players that I see exceeding expectations so far is the Vikings. Last year they had the Titans and they played horrible, and he blamed the team, and looking at that team, that team sucked. I mean, look at who took them over, and they're not doing any better than Jacob was doing. And now that Jacob did the switch, before we advanced, he was sitting at 5-1. So I mean, I feel like this is a big turnaround for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have, I don't want to say they're exceeding expectations, but I feel like given the situation, given the team, what he is, I think we could probably add Dez to this as well, because good users are going to play good. You know what I mean? They're going to compete, but when you're giving someone kind of like sloppy seconds, leftovers, and you're saying, "Here you go, make the best out of it," and it's kind of difficult for them to turn that around. But I think the way he's playing right now, I think he hasn't lost a game since he took over that team. So,
He has, I believe, he's only played 2 games.
oh, okay. I thought he played 3, but
One
I
had
could
to
be
be a
wrong.
fair sale.
Oh, okay. All right. Then yeah, it's probably 2 then. And then what about you as far as your team
For surprising teams, I had I had 4 picks. I had Jacob. I didn't expect Jacob to like get off to such a hot start.
Mhm.
Jacob's been pretty legit. He had a little hiccup versus Themp, but I mean Themp is Themp. The Ravens, this pick was a lot better of a look prior to the blowout loss. But he was off to a red hot start with Lamar Jackson, a elite touchdown to interception ratio, very explosive offense. He got DK, he got Tariq Woolen on defensive, and so he was off to a pretty high start. Next up, I got Themp. Like I said, Themp is just somehow competing with. I don't know if you want to call it a team. Like he got an XFL squad out there competing. And then lastly, I got Ken, and the reason I put Ken is because he went 10-6 last season, won the Super Bowl, and so it's all about can this person repeat what they've done and still be at the top of still be a top competitor. And so obviously, week 1 he plays the Bengals. It's a beatdown, 7-44. And then every game after that, stomp the Texans, stomp the Saints, stomp the Colts, or not, my bad, beat the Colts, stomp Steelers, and then beat Jagoda by 1 point in a close clutch game. And so that for me I put him as one of my surprising users because I didn't expect him to come out to such a hot start following the Super Bowl, but he's been real impressive, man. Bryce, man, is there any users that you have that's been surprising so far?
Um,
See next week.
I made this pick before the last game happened.
Uh-oh.
It's the Lions. He's 4-2 right now in probably the toughest division in the NFC. He beat AJ. He beat the Giants, who made the playoffs last year. He beat the Raiders, who made the playoffs last year. But this was predetermined before the Broncos beat him 42-10. But he's 4-2 right now. I know it's early in the season, but if you would have told me he's 4-2 at the beginning of the season, I would have said no. But he's making moves right now.
What about you, D'Angelo? Anybody surprising you so far with their performance?
The Vikings. I mean, yeah, the Vikings or the Bucks. Ice Water is a good user. The Bucks. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll say the Bucks.
Excuse me. Ken, for you, is there anybody that's been like that you've noticed like, yeah, they're doing real well?
Honestly, it would have to be Jacob. I mean, I knew he was a good user. You know, he has top 10 potential for sure. So going over to that division where they have a 2-time Super Bowl runner up and he's leading the division right now, you know, he has more points scored than one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. So I mean, I think that says volumes about his play right now. So I definitely say Jacob.
Yeah. And Jacob is one of those users similar to AJ for me, where it's like it's a word of mouth thing. Where like I've heard about them, but obviously I didn't see anything with the Titans, and so seeing him, he got his little X Factor quarterback, his little 99 speed receiver, and he's been putting in work. So it's like, all right, okay, I see what y'all are saying about Jacob.
Wish I could have X Factor quarterback.
Hey man, it's tough out here, man. It's tough out here.
Same, I wish I had one.
You trade your superstar QB though.
Whoa. Wait,
That's
Zach Wilson.
Things happen. Revival for you, man. Is there any disappointing users so far this season?
I'm gonna go with the Bills at 2-3. With as competitive as they were last season, I was expecting them, honestly, when you left and you went to the Eagles, I was expecting him to just run that division. And surprisingly, it hasn't turned out that way. I don't know, maybe there's just, it's early in the season. I mean, I didn't really look at his schedule and who he played, but for him to sit at 2-3, if you were to tell me, like, yeah, he's gonna be 2-3, he's gonna be fighting just to try to get the division, I probably would have laughed and probably just said, "Yeah, right." Like what league are we talking about? So that's my biggest disappointment. User so far for this season, anyways.
Man, for me, I had a couple teams listed for disappointment. I had AJ and the Bears. I understand people are gonna go the route of, his team isn't the best. His team isn't the best. I understand the Bears' team is not the best. Trust me, I know better than anybody. That Bears team is not the best.
Justin Fields has the tools to be good.
Exactly. Justin Fields is really all you need. And then he has a fast running back for offense. Now, defense, I mean, you either got it or you don't. Now, me personally, that team, I'm probably winning the Super Bowl. Now, him, I don't know what he can do. But I would say AJ getting off to like a 1-5 start, I would have not have expected that. Because the way people was talking about AJ was like he was going to be the best thing since sliced bread. So I'm thinking he finna come out here blowing out people. And I remember week 1 got smoked by the Lions. I said, "Oh, this is not who I think this guy is." Then, and I rocks with the Lions. He cool people. Next up, I got a former division or last year division winner, and that's Napalm. So Napalm was off to a good start last season. He was doing work with the Cowboys. This season, it has not been pretty. He got absolutely stomped by T. Kells. Then it's close loss, close win, bad loss, close loss. And it's like, Napalm, man, your schedule is not getting any easier. Like, it's not. He has 2 games that I have, like, for sure. Maybe actually, His 3 games I have for sure that are locked as wins, but the rest of them I feel like there's a strong possibility he can lose every single one of them. So I'm just nervous with Napalm. After that, TKLs, man, we had TKLs on the podcast. Very vibrant. He was saying, got to make trades, get people in. I got a Super Bowl window with this team. I got older players. So I'm thinking, okay, TKL's gonna, make some moves in the playoffs. I mean, not in the playoffs. He's gonna make some moves after the season. He's gonna upgrade his team. We're gonna look at TKLs like a threat. And so week 1 came out. Oh, he put the beat down on Napalm. And ever since then, this man got a forced win. But outside of a forced win, it has been a blowout, man. It is like TKLs, man. I don't know what you got. You got to get in the lab, get a sparring partner, make some trades, do some prayers. I don't know what you got to do, man. But this is unacceptable. Please, TKLs, please, man. Lastly, honestly, Revival, I got you because I thought, you know what? If you get a quarterback, you got Najee Harris, you got a little bit of pieces. The defense isn't stellar, but it's manageable. But I thought offensively, you were going to put up some better performances, and it's been bad, man. It's been a bad season. You scored 27. You scored 27 in one game. Outside of that, you have yet to break 20. And your opponents have yet to be held under 38 points. So I thought I was going to get like a 6-7 win season out of you possibly. But it's looking rough, man. It's looking rough. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I can sit here and blame everybody and everybody in the sun, for what's been going on, but I have to say I had high expectations for the quarterback, and there's just a lot of throws and a lot of things that happen in the game that a lot of people don't see, because when you look at the score, you're just like, oh, it's 70 to this, or it's 40 something to this, or it's 50 to this, and you just look at that team, look at the scoreboard, and you're like, oh, this is getting blown out. But if you watch the game, you'll see a lot of throws that that should be made and are just like either overthrown. Receivers are just not playing up to par. And then I noticed too something that in the beginning of the season is that the Steelers' morale was so bad from last season that they actually came into the season with like -2 morale. So right now it's sitting at -4 morale. Yeah, like everybody's depressed. Everybody's on suicide watch right now. Like there's a suicide hotline on every door in the locker room. You know what I mean? We got paramedics standby. We got 1-800 crisis service hotlines going on. It's bad. You know what I mean? Like they're -4 overall. So I think that plays a big role, a big factor into how he's playing. Like even when I acquired new players, they immediately come to the team and their morale just drops. They're just depressed. They're just like, oh shit, we're in the Steelers. You know what I mean? Like we're literally the Bengals team before they got Burrows, before they actually got good. We're like literally the modern Bengals Browns football team of the Crossfire League. Like right now, any team, any player that comes here is just they just hate it. They just want to retire. Like we're like the graveyard for Crossfire right now, and it's just trying to turn the team around. But I mean, my schedule wasn't easy, and my division isn't easy either. And that's not making excuses, but there's just some throws and some catches that should be caught that just weren't made. Like I'll throw a pass to a receiver and he'll just drop it. Like there's no reason for him to drop. There's nobody around him, and there's nothing you can do about that. You know what I mean? If you look on my receivers, like I think they're probably like top 5 most drop passes in the league. You know what I mean? And then you can't. Once the game gets out of hand, it's like your morale. Like if you're on the opposite end of getting your ass whipped in a game, once it's like it's a 4 touchdown league and you're getting 21 skunked and it's getting there. At that point you're just playing just to play. You're just like fuck it. You know what I mean? That's your mentality. It's like fuck it. let me just get this game over with. And you know what I mean? Sometimes, some of the users, they don't give a shit. Like they'll keep piling on you. They don't give a fuck if you're giving up, you're waving the white flag. They'll just keep scoring. And then there's some users that are like, all right, I'm beating his ass, I'll let it, I'll be easy on him. But there's a lot of users that don't care. So you know what I mean. A lot of times those games they get out of hand so bad is because at that point I'm just checked out with the team. Like I'm just like, well, there's nothing I can do. You know what I mean? Like I can call the right plays. I can call the same cheesy YouTube plays that the next guy calls, and literally like my quarterback can't even connect a pass. You know what I mean? Doing the same exact thing. So it's a lot of it's out of my hand. I mean, I feel like, you know what I mean? There's some throws I've made that are just, whatever, but usually when I make those type of throws, it's just the game's out of hand. I really don't care at that point.
Understood, man. Understood.
Right.
Bryce, man, do you have any disappointing users so far this season?
I'm gonna say Cowboys, based off of
Mm-hmm.
last year in the division. I played with that Cowboys team, and I feel like that Cowboys team is a top 3 team. I truly don't see a hole in a team. You got an X factor quarterback, you got decent receivers, decent DBs. You have an amazing O line, a great D line. And Napalm always said, give him an X factor quarterback and he'll be good. He showed that year 1, and then this year it's like, okay, where's last year Napalm at? I'm gonna say Napalm, and then this might be premature to say, but I'm gonna say Joe. He's 4-2.
Mm.
He's 4-2. If you would have said he would have had 2 losses, especially to AJ and the Bucks, what was going to be his 2 losses, I would have said you're smoking crack. That team is too good to have 2 losses right now, especially to who he lost to. No disrespect to the Bucks, no disrespect to AJ because they're good users, but I'm thinking the team, like the abilities, the team itself. Joe lost to AJ because Leon Ball ran for over 200 yards, and then
200.
the Bucks were able to make him throw 5 ints. Same with AJ.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole turnaround. It's a complete different story from what we saw last year. We saw 107 touchdowns last year from Aaron Rodgers, and now it's like he has, I think, 27 touchdowns to 18 ints.
Mhm.
And like I said, this one might come back and bite me. If it does, I'll take it. But
Yeah, don't be
I'm gonna
scared.
say
Yeah, don't be scared.
my second one.
Okay. D'Angelo, for you, any disappointing users?
Like team wise, I would say the Commanders. Like you should not have 4 losses with that team.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. But Cowboys, they won our division. They weren't that good last year, in my opinion. I just was bad because my team's bad.
Oh.
But after that playoff loss, I knew they were not going to be good this year. But yeah, I think that's the most disappointing team: the Cowboys or the Commanders.
Ken, for you?
I would have to definitely say I agree with you, Dallas, on the Raiders. Winning that division last year, then so where they're sitting at now compared to last season is definitely a disappointment. But it's definitely out of him and AJ. Me knowing how AJ plays as a user, and the fact that he beat Joe, there's no doubt that he can play with the better users in the league. I just feel like he's laying down, kind of waiting to build the team, make some moves. But I think looking at his roster, he has some very, very bright spots on that team. And that's a team that can win now if he actually applied himself. So I was leaning towards the Raiders, but I'm definitely gonna have to say AJ in this situation with them Bears.
Man. Yeah, man. And that's the thing, like AJ ran so Leon had like over 300 rushing yards against Joe. And then that very next week he was playing me. And I was like, all right, man, if he finna try this 300-yard rushing game, I'm finna be mad annoyed. And so he ended up being a pass first guy. Fine by me. But it was like, man, like AJ, dog, you just got to figure it out. That's the thing. Like, sometimes it's just, you got to figure it out. Like, you can say, all right, my team he can say whatever, but he was brought in here to be, a instant Super Bowl contender, and it looks like he's going to be a playoff, if that contender. And he might have already dug himself a hole too deep, but we'll just have to wait and see, man. We will have to wait. Take it back to you, Revival.
I mean, I guess from what I'm looking at, looking at the records, because I'm looking at this right now, and I'm also having trade conversations too. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's too early in the season too, because you got to take factors into injuries too. So that's why I picked the Bills. I feel like that was just sort of like I guess an easy out, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I said, because things can happen. I mean, and then chiming on what Bryce said about the Packers, I could see that because I feel like him losing the Super Bowl last year to Ken, and this isn't no disrespect to Ken, but I feel like that killed him. I feel like they killed his morale because he was talking so much shit. Like, let's just keep it 100. He was talking so much shit. Like, he was just cocky and arrogant. And it's always like fun to be like the guy in the sideline, just kind of like watching it and just like clipping it, and then just kind of going back to it. You know what I mean? It's almost like when you're talking shit to like another person that's like talking shit about your favorite team, and then like your team just beats their ass, and then you can kind of go back to it and be like, oh, remember when you said this? You know what I mean? Sort of do that screenshot. I think I think that kills his morale because he's not playing with the same intensity as he was last season. You know what I mean? He always had to worry about Bryce beating him, but he felt like that was his only competition. And then when he was, the Bengals wasn't no longer there, he just felt like it was going to be a shoe and a walk in. And the fact that the Jaguars was able to execute that game plan and just, you know, come out with the win, I think that, I think with his division now, the way it is, it's not a cakewalk for him. You know what I mean? He has some guys in there that can compete with him. You know what I mean? And the fact that he's fighting with Jacob right now, and I think Jacob's got the 1 game edge right now. I think on the division. You know, I think it's gonna hurt him. You know what I mean? And it's gonna probably play mental games with them, and he's gonna go into some of these games, and he's gonna be like, oh, losing to the losing the division and being a wild card team and just kind of like getting your way in. I think that's gonna kill his morale, and I think that's gonna kind of determine where the NFC goes to. I think it's gonna kind of be swayed with that.
Well, the thing is, if you look at Joe and look at the games he's played, he doesn't win close games. I've yet to see him win
Sure. He's never won it.
The Super Bowl. Both Super Bowls he lost, they've been determined by 4 points total. Mine was
Correct.
21-21, 21-20. And then when he played Ken, it was 21-24? 20-23, something like that. He's so used to playing his own play style, which is, I mean, I'll give credit to Joe. He's great at throwing jump balls. He knows that he could beat your defense with jump balls, and give him credit for that. But when he has to play a close game and he just can't go out there and throw 60, 70-yard bombs to Christian Watson or the other dude, I feel like that kind of rattles, and it's like, oh fuck, what do I do now? Because he's not in that situation to, he doesn't have a scheme to slow down the game. If it's either you play at his pace or he's fucked. That's how I see it as.
I would look at it as well. I would look at it. I would look at it similar in a way. And this actually, it just brought something back into my mind. Like, to me, the biggest difference in that Super Bowl game, outside of the pick six, was just in a philosophical standpoint. Was like, to me, that game like showed a clear difference in somebody who like knows how to like Madden cheese a game as somebody who like actually knows like football. And so like to me, Joe was like Hey, look, Joe was gonna do his little 5 plays, a high ball cheese. I mean, cool, do it. Like whatever lets you be happy. But Ken knowing clock management, how to making adjustments to big third downs, and how he was reading Joe's defense and audible and out of that. Like that to me was the biggest difference in that game. Whereas Joe was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna just do 5 plays, and okay, I got this beater for this." And it's all right, it's cool. And that's how I look at that situation. And also going back to another disappointing user that was mentioned earlier, I think for me the Commanders is disappointing just off of the fact of how big of a deal he made Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray's for him his downfalls, and then he got Burrow and has been a turnover machine with Burrow. Like
Kyler
it
Murray's a
has
great
been
quarterback.
unreal. Like Kyler Murray to me is like one of the.
I wish I had Kyler Murray
guys.
on my team, man.
I will say,
Hey,
I don't. I mean, obviously, I miss the abilities. I get inaccurate to Kylo. I do. Obviously, because I don't have Fearless, but I feel like I'd rather have Kylo than Joe, just for the fact that Kylo adds that different dimension. Like I can run around in the pocket now, and I could run my quarterback. And I can't run Joe. He's not fast enough.
Yeah, you gotta do it through a quarterback now. It's
Yeah.
scary.
But I mean, I feel like Kylo's played fine. I mean, he's had some inaccurates, but other than that, like I don't see that much of a drop off besides the ability standpoint of it.
1,000%.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, I was just gonna say, well, that pretty much wraps it up here. I mean, that's our last topic here. Appreciate Ken coming by. It's always a pleasure to have you. And then, of course, our other two guests, D'Angelo, the Giants user, and Bryce, our Bengals user. It's always great to have you guys on here. With that being said, we're gonna end the show, and we'll see you guys next week. And we'll see you then.
Yes, sir. See you guys.
Peace.
Shout out the Creed.